Good evening, gentlemen. It's the Tin Men back. Tonight we have a 12x6 table. We're doing a refight of a very small part of the Vitoria battle. So I'm just going to walk around. So here we have the French deployed on the ridgeline. The extra, I'm not very good at this, but here they are. Over there, we have the English, commanded by Lord Wellington himself, and there'd be the man. So this is the initial deployment. There is plenty of reserves to come on, and we will see how we go. We'll be back shortly. Okay, we've just done turn one. Not a lot happening on the battlefield. Terry is moving his skirmish lines forward. As you see, the British skirmish lines have advanced on the right flank. Unfortunately, the entire left flank went hesitant. It's a bit sad for the English. But we expended that and got on the cavalry reserve, which has entered the table. But there's not a lot going on. It's a big table. It's going to take us a while to get there. The dodgy Gazan troops over here on the flank are actually out of command range, so it's going to make life interesting for them with the Gazan optional rule. Turn 2 is about to begin. We've just had turn 1's firing, and as you can see there, the British, there's a couple of dodgy guys in there by the way, have suffered a casualty after. Where are they? I'm looking for them. There they are. This brigade, artillery brigade, has fired on an assault fire and has actually caused itself 2 casualties per battery because he's rolled snake eyes, and then because you get a -2, enough to get another fatigue casualty. So 4 casualties to the French, 1 to the English. Turn 2, nothing much has happened on the French left, as you can see, they're still vegetating. And we'll move over slowly to the French right, and down here we can see the French Dragoon Brigade creeping forward through the centre, coming up to this town. Unfortunately, this brigade over here went hesitant, and with that lovely Gazan rule that is in play, it immediately retired, which is unfortunate for the French. But over here, the British are very active. We have lots of ADCs, so we issued 4 brigade orders here, and they've all gone forwards really quickly. So we're trying to close the gap. The rest of the British line's hanging back in front of this superior French artillery sitting on the hill. As you can see, he's got some casualties, but we're remaining out of range to keep the casualties to a minimum. Okay, turn 4, French artillery has fired. It has engaged the British line down here, which has caused 1 casualty, but at the same time the French have again rolled poorly on their artillery and caused themselves a casualty. And we'll just go down the line here, I'll zoom out for you. Okay, the French on the far left have opted to leave the safety of the village and are moving down the rise towards the British right flank. Interesting move by the French, not unexpected, but interesting move nevertheless. The French over here in this town, well, they are again part of Gazan's division, and they have gone hesitant and therefore have auto-retired from that area. The French have decided the CNC has opted to expend his ADCs on himself, and he is moving down the line to stem the flow. And as we can see here, the British are streaming forward and in attempting to get into grips with that flank. But we do have the Dragoon Brigade sitting here, which has just come under artillery fire and has got on form, so we'll see what happens. Okay, turn 5. It's looking pretty interesting over here. We have British light cavalry coming up against the French, have formed into columns for some protection. They still haven't managed to take the town back. British Brigade moving forward as fast as it can. Down here, British Dragoons trundling forward. The most interesting thing for the thing is this British Brigade here has got some concern because we've got all this French cavalry coming at us. So that is quite significant in itself. And going down the table, as you can see, the French on that hill over there have formed column and are considering marching forward towards the flank still. So we'll see what happens in turn 6. Alright, I've just finished turn 6. Now what has occurred here, now we use the big stick, is this British line unit here was charged by the Dragoons over here. I'll zoom in nicely, those ones there, supported by those ones there. So they thundered up to this British line, hoping to surprise it. They were outside 15. The British rolled for the discipline test, rolled a 5. We initially thought they were unformed, then I looked up who it was. There's the 52nd Lights. They're elite, which pushes into 7. So they held firmly and gave the French a dose, and the French ran away. So they broke as part of the charge result and retired backwards. So as you can see, the French have opted to move their cavalry forward. So they're attempting to break through this fairly thin British line here. But the British do have, this is the Household Brigade, so the Household Brigade will attempt to get in there. And if we look down the table here, the French have all begun to form columns, so they're going to come off that hill and come and get the British. So it looks interesting. Alright, we're into turn 7. So what has occurred in turn 7? The British gun battery here was charged by this cavalry unit sitting here. We'll zoom in on those dudes. There they are. Now, much to the chagrin of the French player, they got to within 5, took a dose of canister, took 4 casualties and bugged out. As you can see, there is a mass of French Dragoons coming through, and the British are trying in vain to get their cavalry force forward. Now if we look at the far end of the table, we will see the French here, who are slowly moving forward to try and get to contact with the British flank. So it's all looking very interesting. We'll see what happens. Okay guys, we just have the brigade, the French cavalry brigade there, has just charged the 52nd Light Infantry again, and they have been repulsed. They passed their discipline test, stood, volleyed, caused 4 casualties, and the charge result was French retire. Okay, here we are at the other end of the table for once. Here's all the French coming forward. And there's the British, who have finally actually moved forward because we're feeling a little threatened. The French do have a lot of artillery here, so it's going to be interesting. And I'll just walk down here, I'll zoom in a bit, so there's the French cavalry still coming forward. We're probably going to get a melee here, as that is the household cavalry there. Okay, so coming up to the last turn of the evening, you'll see the hands of Terry moving the hideous French forward. British there, the whole 2 line battalions waiting. Another British brigade here, which unfortunately is hesitant. So I'll zoom out and there you'll see the Portuguese have thundered forward with a forwards order, trying just to put some flank pressure there. But we will come under fire from those nasty guns. French over there are forming to probably assault the town. In here, this is rather interesting. So the Household Cavalry Brigade opted to charge this unit here because they had it sitting on 8 casualties, but the Hussars here have decided to play the interloper game and opportunity charged to block that move. And unfortunately the British did not roll well, so we're going down to a melee, so we'll see how that goes. But over here we have the British Heavy Dragoons moving forward to try and finish off the French cavalry, which is looking fairly brittle at the moment. Okay guys, that's turn 11 finished. So what's occurred here is the British Household Cavalry. It's looking pretty sad. It's in retreat mode. After it charged the French, it routed this unit here. I'll get my stick over there eventually. There it is. So that unit there has been routed by the French. The brigade that belongs to is now in falter mode because of the dreaded 52nd, which has basically walked up and shot a French cavalry unit to death. Unfortunately, the British had to charge on, hit the French Dragoons, lost the melee by 1, and have retreated, but they're unformed. But we've got more British coming. The French are just sitting there taking a bit of stick, and over here, as you can see as I slowly zoom in, the French are getting nice and close as they move towards us. So it's going to be interesting the next 11 turns to go.